Welcome to the top 20 video game tracks selected by my finger. No, I mean you. More specifically, xenmas, cyflan, Rudi, Kris, Claudio, and the big boss, Steve. This is from Suikoden 2, a bustling town, castle theme. Our theme for this week is castles, bases, imperial, military, all that shit. Our first official selection from Xenoblade Chronicles, the Galahad Fortress, composed by friggin' Yoko Shimomura, Ace Plus, Manami Kiyota, and Yasunori Mitsuda. Chosen by xenmas. Here we fucking go. Look at my big sword. It kinda looks like a frisbee. There's a map named Control Room. Green stuff. It's probably evil stuff. Evil green stuff. Evil green stuff. I think we've come to the end of the loop. Wow, what a beautiful, really powerful driving track, as Rudi, as Solace says, the driving force. It does have a royal feel to it. It's very ambitious, this ambiance. A little bit of near, yeah, you know, the way that the strings kind of go, with that heavy kind of slow military beat behind it. It's almost like a trip-hop kind of trancey beat. It's heavy and kind of pushing. It's got a bit of like a little more magical and regal than like you'd expect out of like a real straight kind of military theme. So it gives it the feeling of, I don't know, not exoticness, but like it's out of a fantasy game of some kind. Like something magical is happening. Like a military force has come to save the day, and like you're just watching the Gundam unfold into a super funk mech. And it's about to just obliterate the baddies and save the day and the week and the month, but not the year. Fuck the year. Wow, what a magical start. Let's see if Dynasty Warriors 3 from the PS2 in 2001 can match it. The track is Jump Into the Battlefield version 2 composed by Masayoshi Sasaki, chosen by Cyflan. All right, two big things jump out. Like Claudio says, there's a water drop sound. It's like very, I mean, this thing's trying to sound like heavy and funky and wow, kind of like dark, but in a fun way. And so the water drop fits the fun aspect, but you're just really not expecting a water drop. And it's not like it even... It's not even like it fits the theme of the game. It's not like we're listening to the soundtrack of Waterworld starring Kevin Costner's gills. Yeah, we'll use a sample no one else can use. It was very cheap. We found it in the sample bargain bin. This sounds very 2000s in the way that it's like 90s guitar rock, but that little more industrial feel, a little more samples, a little more polished and more like... not experimentation with the studio stuff, but more like, how can we kind of glitz this up? How can we try to make it sound flashy? And then that little part at the end where it stutters and it sounds like your disc is skipping. You'd probably never do that now because people would be like, what? People who've grown up listening to music on their phone never hear a skip. Although sometimes when my Bluetooth is fucking up with my car, it'll actually like stutter or it'll speed up. But it's not a CD skip. Hey, Dynasty Warriors was slumming it around, having fun, riding in the Camaro with the IROC Camaro, the shitty ones from the 80s, with the top down, doing cocaine with those guitars. Now we're going to class it up with Suikoden. Now we're riding in a BMW through the foothills of Japan. This is Suikoden 2, March of the King, composed by Miki, Higashino. Chosen by Rudi. Bum, 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 bum. find like the way that they imply the marching in the opening of this track just sounds so much like the Imperial March. Yeah, that's the Imperial March. This has so much marching snare in it, so much marching feel. Really militaristic. I love that opening bit, how it just has that that's not really letting me feel the home key. It's not letting me feel grounded or resolved. It's just throwing you off, and it's a bit of an ominous sort of voice, like a warning or like a messenger or something caught in between before this big battle's about to take place. And then the big, obviously, you got like the heroic trumpets. I like how they come together and they hold for so long and then stop so abruptly. It's so cool. Just has this feeling of like calling a regiment into action and being able to halt them right when you need to. And really sort of like spacey, which is a bit of an interesting choice. And some of the melodies and intervals really reminded me of what John Williams was doing to score the Rebel bass and sort of the Rebel team in a little-known movie called Star Wars. This next pick is from Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It's Bowser Begins, composed by Grant Kirkhope of Banjo-Kazooie fame, chosen by the Kirkhope Stan himself, Kris. Holy Lord. Wow, that was incredibly cinematic. Again, that big, like, Danny Elfman kind of sound of, like... I find this kind of music sounds like it's an orchestral way of making it sound like the cartoons have just taken over the asylum and things are kind of getting out of control and building to these chaotic highs, but it's all done in, like, a really kind of fun, tongue-in-cheek way, where that's what gives it that cartoony feel. I don't know what it is. There's something about it. I don't know how you can make all the same instruments in an orchestra sound serious or just sound really kind of playful. Maybe it's the way they kind of... There's like really playful, I don't know, like outlandish, almost like silly melodies and stuff in it too. Just the overall vibe of it. Batman cartoon, boom, boom, boom. Anytime you hear that, you want to go da-da. He is the Batman. Of course, that's when they don't do the Batman-esque theme. Right when I sing it. Fuck you, Ubisoft. Hey, do you like Nobuo Uematsu? He composed this track from Lost Odyssey on the Xbox in 2008. The track is A Mighty Enemy Appears, Composed by Claudio. I mean, chosen by, not composed. Whoa! Nobuo Uematsu, what a fucking good melody. It's just so like fun and, like you said, mischievous at the same time. It's got a bit of a smirk. It's like sort of winking its eye at you as it flourishes around with power and grace and agility. Just like makes you feel like you're at the high level part of a JRPG or some intense combat system, and you've really found out all the nooks and crannies and minimizing and maximizing things and flying around, casting your big level spells. It'd be like if you jumped into an RPG and were watching the end game of it as opposed to the beginning and seeing all that high level stuff before you even understood the main part of it. Just seems so much more impressive. Hey, this one is from Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, Battle in the Base, composed by Harry Gregson-Williams and Norihiko Hibino. Chosen by Steve, and I want to thank Steve for including not only the music YouTube video, but a link to some gameplay video for me. Oh! Still going. Oh my god. Wow. What an amazing couple tracks here. It's Metal Gear Solid. It's funny, we don't usually hear too much Metal Gear Solid music on the show, and I don't know why. It's so bloody good. Maybe we just don't think about it. Maybe we kind of have heard it too much in a way. But it's so evocative. It's so fun. It has so many cool cues from James Bond. But I always like when Metal Gear Solid does this like futuristic spy theme with that bit of kind of glitchy futurism. This throws in a bit more like retro electric guitar and more like acoustic instruments. And is all this stuff of the era? I'm trying to think, because this was set in like the 1960s, right? So that could be an electric keyboard, like an electric piano, like a Rhodes piano. A lot of it's just guitar and tremolo and flutes. There's a few kind of sound effect-y things, like that thing. And that's a very modern sound. Yeah, a lot of Metal Gear Solid music does kind of sound similar. I mean, this is a lot like a lot of bass themes. Great though. But great. Oh man, I thought that this week's choice of themes, being military, base, imperial, everything was going to be so serious, but a lot of it is very, very smirky and fun. So it's been a nice surprise. Hey, from Tales of Vesperia, this is The Villain's Conspiracy and the Mechanical Tower, a bass theme, composed by Motoi Sakuraba, who we just did a special on, was that last week? And chosen by xenmas. Oh. There's a lot going on in this track, but I don't mean to say that it's cluttered in any way. It's like very focused, and it does have a feeling like it is going backwards in a way. I think it's because of the arpeggios. Instead of starting on the low note, working their way up like this one has these high note first, which makes it sound like it's sort of going backwards. You know what I mean? They're starting on a note that sounds like they would be ending on. Beautiful harpsichord that adds a lot of great feel to it. It's like a slower, plodding kind of Castlevania type theme. Staggering, stuttering intervals. That's true. It does kind of sound like the way the percussion is like... sounds like on those second hits, they really just like cut everything off. Never letting you forget you're in a dangerous place and you need to stay alert. Great point. This is from the game Stellaris Nemesis, released on the PC 2016 and 2021. The track is Coronation of the Dark Emperor, composed by Andreas, Waldetoft, and Bert Meyer, chosen by cyflan. Come on, Bert. Hey, Bert. Way to go, Stellaris. Hey, Bert. Want to make out? Do you want to make out? Ready for some action-packed Stellaris gameplay? Too much gameplay. Fuck. Got all that gameplay right in my eye. Stellaris. That is a hell of a track. I can't believe how bloody epic that is. And what do you do in the game?
A lot of clicking. A lot of clicking and looking at menus.
Very Hans Zimmer Batman Begins, Dark Knight trilogy. The way Hans Zimmer has really big ideas. No. Very big presentation of very small ideas, which makes them sound really big. The way he like kind of moves different parts of the orchestra as just one big melody, and the building, and just kind of the different ways it like transposes to say like, oh, now it's going to go to this key and then this key, which gives it like these. They kind of build up all this tension in one spot, and then da 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 da, and all when that new key change hits, that's the like the heroicness of the superheroes are like busting through and resolving all that tension by just totally changing the paradigm. Have you heard of Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom? This is the Kingmaker's theme, composed by Joe Hisaishi, chosen by Rudi. Thank you. Thank you. PlayStation just turn on? Oof. Who composed that again? Jo Hisaishi. That is bloody good, man. That was very moving, emotional, dramatic. What was so nice about it? Actually, the instrumentation was pretty nice. A lot of surprises, especially with those like PlayStation synthy sounds. Wow, I love the way the instruments play off each other. Those different melodies play off each other. The violin there is a nice choice for that very like pleading, emotional way to read a melody line. Here's a game I used to always talk about how great it was back in the day, and then I went back and played it. It was not. Ape Escape 2. I think Ape Escape 1 was probably maybe the better one. Maybe had a better feel. There's something about the feel of Ape Escape 2, and it could be the version I have of the PS2 and the PS4. Throwing you a bone. All right, this track is called Code Chimp 2, composed by Koji Hayama and chosen by Chris. Whoa! Writing is almost sounds just like intentionally annoying, like has this like sort of obnoxious feel to it. It's almost kind of silly. It's almost like a very kind of North American way of trying to sound like Egyptian in a way, like was that more Indian? Is that more like Swahili? I'm talking out of my ass now. It smells like shit. Yeah, it does. It is very in your face. It's very kind of like late 90s mascot music, but this track is weird. And then it has like rock and roll elements, the different chords that it goes to, and like rock, like 1950s kind of rock and roll, like da 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 da. And just this organ, like it's weird. It doesn't have any tweaking to kind of make the synth notes have any kind of a swing to them, or like just anything other than like the basic fingerings. It's a strange song played in a weird way. It's almost like it almost sounds like they're not used to the hardware they're playing it on. It's weird. Deep Purple made a game mostly, huh? Yeah, you wouldn't imagine this to play in an Ape Escape game, but sometimes Sony did that where they like to switch it up with their mascots. They didn't quite have as much of an identity as, say, Mario, where you really have to be very careful about the choices you make, and just any decisions or changes you have to be very cognizant of. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Sony has more of that, like sometimes just like generic or rock. They're just trying to sound a bit more adult. Oh, I see the Rudy joke. Kind of sounds like something from Legend of Dragoon, just with that really Sony sound. See, that makes a lot of sense. This is a different composer for this game than was on the first or any of the other ones. So they got away from what the first person did, and then didn't think this was a good enough fit to keep them for any of the other games. Hey, speaking of giant franchises, this is not one. Project Triangle Strategy on the Switch. Is it a sequel to Octopath? Kind of. In 2022, this is Battle Theme 10, composed by Akira Senju. Chosen by Claudio. God, that's a lot of battle themes. That wasn't it. Such a great battle theme. I love that opening melody line and how it never quite, it goes about a half note below where you think it's gonna go. You know where it's going like bum bum ba da ya instead of like ya. It's not that ba ya. Just like a half, one note below and then slide down one more. It just gives it a really kind of like sneaky, faux dramatic, like not campy, but like maybe like it can't be dramatic, and it kind of sounds like a Broadway sort of like a musical, where it's drama, but it's fantastical. It's like melodramatic. That's the word I wanted. Our next track is from Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Hyrule Castle theme, composed by Manaka Katooka, Yasuaki Iwata, and Hajime Wakai. Wakarimashita! Ka. Chosen by Steve. this track. I mean, it really, really announces itself as a big fucking deal. We got a nice kind of looser military feel. It's got a bit of mischievous to it as well. Just a lot of notes setting that tension, that bass line. It's like, to me, this track sounds, it has like the heroicism of, say, your usual kind of Zelda song. But it's like creeping its way up. It's sort of like the way the percussion kind of goes bum, 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 bum. It's sort of like you're taking a step forward and half a step back. And a couple steps forward, darting back. It's like you are trying to go to the top of the most difficult obstacle, the most difficult mountain. But you're constantly watching. It's almost like if you're infiltrating a base and you're hiding in the shadows still. And you're still making some bold moves and going up and murdering lizards. But you're also, picking your spots when challenges are arising. Hidden enemies, unknown threats. After you've been training your whole bloody playthrough in this game to get to this point, you decided to finally take on Hyrule Castle and end the calamity. I love those arpeggios too. That's kind of like bling, 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 bling. Really kind of off-putting, almost twinkling, which really sounds like the Guardians, because the Guardians they're like metal and they're robotic, but they're from a different time, where it's like the technology from that time seems different. It almost seems like magic. Like if there was a parallel universe of humans and the technology that they worked on was slightly different from ours. Just whatever branch they got off, and then that evolves into that and evolves into that. All right. From Final Fantasy XIV, which I hear more and more people are getting into every day. Probably at a faster rate than those who are currently playing it are dying. By this much. This is the Imperial Choice by xenmas. The track is composed by Soken. The track is Tower of Babil. Garlemald Express! That bass. Holy hell, this is good. You know what you don't hear too often is a bass arpeggio. That thing is usually they're a lot higher and more kind of like lyrical and featured. It's nice to hear the bass do that. So many like little layers in this track that I can't tell if I just didn't notice them earlier or they add them as the track goes and grows. It's like a real subtle song that, like everything else in the background is very subtle, but then it's got that really non-subtle kind of beat. Actually, it's kind of played in like a quiet way. It's like it's a secret. Like someone's playing the tiniest drum kit. from Trails in the Sky SC. This is Lurking Shadow in the Wilderness, composed by Wataru Ishibashi, chosen by Rudi. God, I love that last line there. Oh. Sorry for the repetitiveness there. Wow, was that cooking? I love how the main driving of the rhythm is just like, to me it sounds like a MIDI canasta, which I think is like a tango beat. Boom, boom, boom. Sort of like a tango beat. And that is the one constant. And then you have like timpani, but it kind of plays around it. Doesn't necessarily just hammer that same beat. Because people who compose for classical music have taste. And if all the instruments play in the same beat, that's tacky. Distasteful. All right, let's stop being so serious. Let's stop being so up our own ass. Let's stop being so graduate diploma. Okay? How about Enter the Gungeon? Lead Lord's Keep, composed by Adam Drucker, a.k.a. Dose 1, chosen by Kris, a.k.a. the One Lich Emperor. Yeah, this song really generates like a crazy atmosphere where it really feels like you're in a sort of a whole other kind of world, like a whole other just dimension. It's like really kind of off-putting with that kind of whoa, whoa. Feels like those big padding notes. It just sounds like they're coming in at the wrong time. They're the wrong note. No, not wrong. I mean unexpected. It sounds unexpected, which makes it feel discordant and kind of disjointed. And I mean that sounded insulting what I was saying, but I meant that what they're doing is a good way of creating this kind of like other world. Everything is overlapping each other. And I was thinking about how it kind of takes turns letting different riffs show off, different instruments show off with some kind of show-off riff. Like, it's sort of like, and now it's this instrument. And it's almost like they're doing a solo, but they're more like very disciplined riffs that kind of repeat. And I think it makes sense because this game, it's all about excellence. It's all about successfully defending, a huge bullet hell amount of projectiles coming towards you, and having perfect timing on the reload button, and like the feat of skill it takes to do a deep run in this game. Precision. Yeah, precision is the word. That could have saved us all a lot of time. From Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, from Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, released on the Switch in 2020. Good year. Battle of Liberation, composed by Kumi Tanioka Pudding, of course, chosen by Claudio. Militaristic, will it be better than average? Better than generic? I don't normally stop the tracks in between, but I just wanted to point this out before I forgot. I feel like when this track starts, it sounds like it's going to be like a generic military track. Okay, we got the military beat, we got the snare, we got the flutes, we got the trumpets and like the low horns. Even the first riff is like, yeah, it's kind of Zelda-ish. Yeah, but it's the way they overlap. And like the bass moves down, and just a few things like that where everything else is expected, and then you tweak one little element of it and you make that unexpected, and god damn it, it works. Coming up next, from Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, this is Escaping the Leviathan, composed by Hitoshi Sakamoto, chosen by Steve. Star Wars. Star Wars. Yeah, Sakamoto stuff. Definitely there's some like really Star Warsy like that. Just the note, like the notes that he chooses, the instruments that he chooses, the register they're in. There's a lot of that sounds really Star Wars, and that kind of frenetic pace of like. But then I think where Sakamoto stuff really stands out and differentiates itself is the way he uses the lower stuff, like the timpani and the bass. Boom, 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 boom. It's almost like the lower drums are doing the riffs. Boom, 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 boom. Kind of like playing in really unexpected ways and sort of like a really kind of furious energy to it. And when I watch this video and hear this music, it makes me think, man, I would actually want to play Final Fantasy XII again just to hang out in the world and hear the music. And it's fun to build out your character and eventually get to that point where they're going to be automated. And the art design is really beautiful. I don't remember really much about the story other than you just travel around with a fun group of RPG characters. You know, it just kind of felt like in a long-running show. This is just like an episode where, you know, nothing of consequence really happens. And maybe I'm forgetting something. Maybe they're like, oh my god, don't you remember what happened to Pinello? What about Baltier? Remember? I think this game was kind of cutting the ankles when they were gonna have Baltier as the protagonist, and then at the last second they're like, oh, I really think we need to make it a young 14-year-old blonde boy. That's what we need. It's like they just went right back to, he's just like such a clone of Final Fantasy X, of Titus. But the rest of the world fits it as if Baltier was the main character. And I think it weakens it. I think that it takes the focus away from him. I think that Van has nothing interesting to say. It's very obvious that he was added late in the game and he just sits around on the outskirts of all the cutscenes, and he just kind of asks questions. He doesn't actually have any opinion, and he doesn't do anything in the game. It's almost like you're in, like the player is being inserted into the game. Like if you're playing a VR game and they wanted to make you feel like you're there, it's like you're watching a movie and the characters all of a sudden just look at you. What do you think, rookie? Press A for yes. That's what we thought, rookie. All right, back to the movie we're filming over here, not looking into the camera. Okay, rookie. Okay, I appreciate that Square will take chances, and then it's ironic that everything they took a chance on in Final Fantasy XII is actually the best part of it. And then the part where they played it safe and brought in Van, that's where it falters. Let that be a lesson to you. Take risks. From Final Fantasy XII, subtract 10, Final Fantasy II, or Final Fantasy IV. This is on the Super Nintendo, 1991, of course. Composed by Nobuo Uematsu, chosen by Kris. The track is the Red Wings theme. man, does that ever set a nice, strong, militaristic, imperialistic theme? I love how it kind of pumps in with that, which sounds something like they'd be playing on a big ship, you know, like a big warship. And I like that the bass note, the bass note never changes, and it kind of sounds like that timpani being played. It sounds like this ship, the Red Wing ship, and this empire that they represent is going to head straight on through, and nothing is going to falter. But even though there's all this chaos of, you know, their thoughts like, are we doing the morally, ethically right thing? Daryl! You know, is it still a cause worth fighting for? Are we the good guys in the situation? But that bass note, boom, 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 with that military beat, that part never falters. Pretty ahead of its time. I mean, to be put out in 1991 and really just like cinematically set the stage in such a way. Wow. The penultimate track from Tales of Innocence R. This is Death Approaches from Behind, Western Battlefield, composed by Kazuhiro Nakamura, chosen by Steve. That opening bit is very, very, very much like the Batman. Bum, 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 da, da. It's like it knows it sounds so much like Batman that it just pauses, and then you're thinking, it's not going to go to the next note, is it? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. And then it obviously changes and does its own thing. It'd be amazing if actually the composer really had never heard that Batman theme. I find that hard to believe. But on the other hand, I mean, there's only certain combinations you can make in music, so. It's the entire. How many notes? How many notes are the same? Bum 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 bum. It's the entire melody of the Batman melody of the Batman theme. Oh my god, it's a great theme though. This one. It's fun. And it does its own thing with it, but it definitely is inspired by it. I like the way, sort of like the epic kind of drums and everything have this kind of like stop-start. It's almost like you're galloping on a horse in slow motion. It's Batman's theme if the Batcave was a Bat Castle. Yeah. Or a Bat Asshole. Well, that's it for this week. The top 20 base military castle themes. This is from Persona 4. It is Secret Base, composed by Shoji Meguro, chosen by Xenmas. I like this one because the Persona 4 soundtrack has a lot of pop music influences on it. In Persona soundtracks usually take some kind of a theme. Persona 5 had a lot of funk. 4 was pop. I think 3 was hip hop. But I like how they take the pop format, but add just enough to make it sound kind of militaristic, sort of bassy. And I like this one at the end because it kind of feels like an end credit song. So here we go.